it's foolish. Today I'm going to show you how to make a custom GameCube controller that brings around three different worlds. It's the Nintendo world, the Sony world, as well as the Microsoft world. Sounds weird? Well, it is. It is essentially a GameCube controller with a left analog stick that's a PS4 stick, and a right analog stick, as we all know as a C stick, as an Xbox One stick. The that you're going to need for this video is going to be a GameCube controller, a Y or tri screwdriver, which is to open up the GameCube controller. You're also going to need aluminum foil, possibly scissors if you cannot rip the aluminum foil for some weird and strange reason, and also the PlayStation 4 as well as the Xbox One joystick, or just two PlayStation 4 joysticks or two Xbox joysticks if you want to have two on your controller rather than one. So the first thing that you want to do, you want to take apart your GameCube controller. So you want to take that Y screw or that tripod screw. You want to take apart the two screws on each side, two right here as well, and the two right here against the triggers. After you take out the 6 screws, you want to make sure that you put them somewhere where you're not going to lose them. I put them right next to me because, I mean, fuck it. They're gone. They're gone. So after that, you want to take apart the controller, in which you just gently want to just lift up. It is as easy as that. It's not like a PlayStation controller, which is a pain, or PlayStation 4 controller, which is a pain in the ass. Just that simple, just lift up. If anything snags, do not pull it. I'm going to say this multiple times throughout this process. Do not force something if it does not want to happen. You hear that, men? And some women as well. So after your controller's apart, like so, hopefully we got into that part. If it's not like this by now, then you probably fucked up or skipped through the video and paused it, or so I don't know. But you just want to take this apart by just gently wiggling it. Make sure that when you do this, you also want to lift up on this cable, because as you see, the cable wraps around this little beam. You want to lift up on the cable there. Just pull up all at one time together. Don't shake it, because the more you shake it, you're going to have these buttons moving everywhere, and then you're going to have a little bit more on your hands than you want to. So just put that front part of the case, put that front part of the case on the side, and then you have your, I would say, motherboard. Once you have the brain of your controller, or the heart of your controller, or the guts, whatever you want to call it, you're going to just pull up on these joysticks. Now, it's going to take a little bit of power, but once again, just don't forcefully just yank them, because then something might go wrong. You might actually pull up parts of the pins on the joystick themselves, and then mess up your controller, and then you got to go to Amazon, $20. You don't want that problem. But yes, just pull up on the first one, pull up on the second one, and you should be good. Make sure that when you're pulling up on this second one, that you actually hold this part of the motherboard itself while pulling up, because you just don't want to pull it up as it's dangling. And it's as simple as that. You can flip all of the joysticks that you have upside down. You can see how they look, and they do look very similar, but yet different by just a small minuscule way. Some are rectangles, some are square, some are rectangles with a little midget inside of them, but nonetheless, this actually still works, people. So next, what you want to do is, I'm going to start with the C stick first, because the C stick's less troublesome than the analog stick, or the left analog stick. So what you want to do is take your Xbox joystick, because I'm going to have an Xbox joystick as my C stick, and from top to bottom, long ways, you want to just go to top to bottom on your C stick. Make sure you press directly down on top. Do not press at an angle, because you will mess up your joystick. This is one of the very few parts that's going to take a decent amount of force. Don't force it too hard, but it's going to take a little bit of muscle. And just to make sure it's right on top of there, you can also just move around the joystick, make sure everything's good and whatnot. Now, after we have our Xbox joystick on, now to get the PlayStation 4 joystick on is going to be a little different than the Xbox. Now, Xbox, you can actually just do the same process if you wanted to use this analog stick. This goes vice versa. So if you wanted to use both PlayStation, take this step that I'm about to show you for PlayStation. Now, if you wanted to use the Xbox One joystick, you will once again have to go from top to bottom long ways and just press it down once again firmly on top, and then you have two analog sticks for Xbox. So next, we want to install the left analog stick, which is going to be this one, obviously, seeing as it's, yeah, common sense. And if you wanted to use the Xbox One, you take the same principles. You go top to bottom long ways, top to bottom long ways, and you press down from straight to top to bottom, or straight from the top straight on, Once again, it's going to use a little bit of force during this. Not too much because you still don't want to break this motherboard, but still some to just get that controller on there. Now, this step is different for PlayStation. If you wanted to do both PlayStation joysticks, you're going to have to follow these steps. Now, the reason I did the Xbox first is because I like the joystick over there. I like having that Xbox joystick as the C-stick because the Xbox joystick is a little bit smaller than the PlayStation's. In my opinion, C-stick, you want to be small. You don't want them to be as big as an analog stick. Or the normal analog stick. It's going to be kind of weird. So, I went with the Xbox. Now I'm going to go with the PlayStation 4. Now, this process, like I said, is a little bit more enduring than the Xbox one because you actually have to use this aluminum foil. It's going to look like we're making some crack, but we're not. Or smoking some crack, I should say. Now, you want to take this joystick, and from top to bottom, for some reason, the PlayStation joystick is a lot deeper when it comes to the input part. It's a lot deeper than the Xbox, and it's a lot deeper than the Gamecube. So, to compensate for that, we have to take some foil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut like a little piece or rip a little piece. I mean, if you have to cut foil, something's wrong with you, man. Come on. Come on, work out some. You want to just fold it in half like this a couple of times. I would say once, twice, possibly 3 times. You want to do it 3 times. You want to rip a piece. Now, this is going to take a little bit of trial and error because some people might have certain type of foil. I just have the normal standard, non-heavy duty, just normal foil. You want to rip a small piece around this size or so. It's a little bit hard to see, but just a very small piece. You want to fold that down even smaller, so maybe like 3 or 4 to 5 times, possibly 6. Now, this is going to sound a little bit weird. The reason I don't use super glue for this part is because you really don't need to. You can use super glue for this part. You can super glue the inside of your joystick and then drop the aluminum foil in there. The reason I don't is because your joystick's going to be sitting on top of this on top of a button like so. So the aluminum foil is not going to go anywhere. If it drops, it's going to be sitting on top of a pedestal no matter what. So, in my opinion, don't use it. It also might mess up your controller to where if you wanted to get rid of that PlayStation 4 joystick and go with an Xbox One or go back to the Gamecube, it's going to be a little bit troublesome. So I fold it down into a very, very tiny piece, and I do apologize that it's not on autofocus, but a very, very tiny piece, and you just want to drop this right in your joystick, just like so, right into that center part. Now, like I said, this is going to be a trial and error. And what I like to do, after I drop it in, I like to take my screwdriver, if your screwdriver is skinny enough. If it's not, I would recommend using a toothpick, possibly paper clip, or something of the nature that's small enough. You want to just press that foil down in there to make sure it's in. And I don't think it's going to take just 1 time. It's probably going to take 2. 2 pieces of foil folded up like this. And the reason I'm doing this is because normally if you have this joystick, or if you have the PlayStation joystick pressed down all the way on your GameCube motherboard, and you go to close up the controller, I'm going to do this without trying to knock every single button out of this. Normally what would happen is your joystick will actually be sitting inside of here, and because it's pressed down so far, your joystick's actually rubbing the side of the grooves, and you don't want that to happen because that restricts your mobility. It doesn't allow you to run and smash. You pretty much only walk. It's kind of dumb. So you don't want to have it pressing all the way down. You want to have it sitting just a little bit. Trust me, this is safe. I've been using this controller for, I want to say, 2 weeks now, and it has not messed up on my since I did this. So if you want to try and see like if the first one might be enough, I don't think it's going to be. So once again, just prepare yourself for cutting another piece. So all you want to do is just take this, once again, similar to the Xbox. You want to go from top to bottom. You want to, once again, use a little bit of force. Once again, don't be afraid. And if you want to test it, just flip the controller. Drop it inside there. Now, when you're dropping the controller back inside, like I said, kind of shimmy it. Old dirty bastard. Shimmy it in there. Make sure that your controller wire is around that little loop. Flip it upside down. Now, you don't have to actually put the back on. If you want to, you can. But you don't actually have to put it back on at the moment. You can just get like kind of a feel, see if it's good enough. This looks okay, but personally I don't like it. It's sitting a little bit too close to where if you look at it, it's still rubbing. I don't want it to rub. So I'm going to actually undo all of this. Like I said, the PlayStation is a little bit more tedious, but it's worth it, guys. It's truly worth it. And if your controller starts, if the black part of your controller starts to like come up, all you gotta do is just press down on it. It's not going anywhere. It's not leaving you. It's not like that girl in 4th grade. There was no girl in 4th grade. So you just want to pull it off. Once again, might take a little bit of force. Don't feel too scared. Just have confidence in yourself. Gotta believe. So we're going to take another small piece. I'm doing this all in one take. Bear with me. I'm going to take another small piece. Fold it up to where it just fits inside once again. Oh man, having big hands is kind of troublesome for this, so I do apologize for all the big-handed people. I'll say I have medium-sized hands. Press it down in there again. And just go number 2. Because once again, you don't have to actually press too hard. Because over time, when you're playing the game, you're going to be pressing in. Like, similar to, like, if I take this... if I take this Xbox controller, it's similar to the Xbox controller, where you can push down a little bit. You can pull up a little bit. There's a little bit of leeway that it gives you. So, once again, if your controller is sitting like this, I would say in about a day, not really, it's not going to go down that far. But don't worry if it's sitting up a little bit too high, because over time, from you playing, like, it's going to become compact, and it's going to sit in there nice and smooth and snug. So, because I put some more in there, as you can see, like, the little bit of shine right there. Sorry for the iPhone users and the Android users. Can't be one side. I gotta mention Android, man. Now I put a little bit more in there so I can do the same process. Flip over the brain, or the heart of the cards. Shimmy it back in there. Get your controller to go around that little loop. Once again, you want your controller to go around this little loop. It actually hugs that little loop there. And you also want it to sit within this little tiny like tunnel. Now, once again, if you want it to, you can put on the back of your controller, see if it fits. Make sure when you're putting on the back of your controller, I don't know if you can see this, but this is actually your right trigger. You're gonna see like this little tall thing. This is actually your right trigger. This is your left trigger. You want these to both be all the way up. You always want to make sure they're up when you're putting this back on, because if they're not, then your controller's not going to actually be put together right. So now I'm doing it, and as you can see, it's a little bit better. Like, it's not like perfectly hitting that top, so it's pretty good. So right now I'm just going to take it apart. It's pretty good, but not perfect for me, so that's why I'm taking it apart. I'm going to put just a little bit more inside there. Put that joystick back on. I had some aluminum foil sticking on the side. Put that joystick back on. Flip the controller over one last time. Hopefully one last time. Make sure it goes around that loop like I said. Make sure it's sitting in everything pretty nicely. By everything pretty nicely, I mean you want to make sure this little tower comes out, because this is what you screw your screw into. It's these 6 points. That's what all your screws go into. So you want to make sure that this is sitting nicely, this is sitting nicely, this is through, or this is through, as well as this one right here is through. As well, you want to make sure that these barely are outwards. Actually, they're a little bit in. So you want to make sure that these are also sitting somewhat on the top as well as this one as well. They just keep the motherboard in place, or the brain, whatever you want to call it, the motherboard, the brain in place. And like I said, make sure that your right and left thumbstick are pushed all the way up, because they actually sit inside these little housings. This housing and this housing. Because if they are a little bit down, when you go to press it, it's not going to actually reach back up, because it's kind of just, it's like a switch. But once you move it all the way down, it doesn't go back up unless a spring, in this case, forces it back up. So after you made sure everything is right and everything is set, your controller or your buttons are all in there and everything. I do apologize. I only have one camera at the moment, and my girlfriend took my camera stand. But once you have it sitting inside there all nicely, all you want to do is just gently put the controller back on. Do not force anything. It should all connect in pretty nicely. You might get a click. That's that beautiful sound that you want to hear. After you do so, just hold it down a little bit, screw all the 6 screws back inside. Actually, I do want to point out this. Before you actually get this screwed in, because you don't want to be annoyed by screwing it, unscrewing it, I would recommend turning on your game, Smash Bros in this case, turning on your game, seeing if your analog sticks work, seeing if all your buttons work, just to make sure that nothing went wrong. That's always the best case. Now, I do want to say, before I actually screw this down, also before you screw this down, because just in case you might not like it, but as you look straight at the controller, when you go like this with the PlayStation joystick, it covers all the sides. Now when you go down with the Xbox joystick, you can see that there's a little gap, and it kind of shows the internals of your joystick, or actually the internals of your controller. If you don't like that, I do apologize that you watched this video, and you might want to revert that back to your old stick, or maybe even use the PlayStation 4 stick. But if you're okay with it, personally, I'm okay with it, because I'm pretty consistent about cleaning my controller, which is why I said have this brush handy. You want to clean your controller about, I would say, at least once a week, at least once a week, preferably twice a week, because as much as depending on how much you play Smash, is depending on how often you want to clean it. All you have to do to clean it is just unscrew everything, take the motherboard back out or the brain back out, kind of brush inside softly, call it a day. And if you want to do some external cleaning, you can just brush on the side. It's kind of like, I'm trying to think of something. I don't know. I guess it's kind of like brushing your teeth, but the controller version of it. You just want to take it, kind of smack down as you move back to side. I got this at the dollar store for $1, obviously. One of the best investments that I've used towards just controller maintaining or controller cleaning or anything that's just electronic cleaning. Because I use it for more than my controller. I use it for my keyboard also, which you see that's on the screen. That's probably been distracting the entire episode. Or I can go like that. That's for GTA, so on and so forth. But that's in another video if you guys want to know about that keyboard. And all the cool stuff that it can do. So, go to screw back in your 6 screws. After finding out that your joystick works. And after all 6 screws are in, you have yourself a GameCube controller from the courtesy of the people at Sony and Microsoft. It's a pretty solid feeling controller. I honestly really do like how it feels. Once again, my finger doesn't slip over here as nearly as much because it's not technically dome shaped. It's more flat than dome shaped. And it grips really well, where you have the C-stick, in which it flicks very well. It sits a little bit taller than your standard C-stick. Actually, can I aim it downwards? Oh shit, I just let it go. If it sits a little bit taller than your normal C-stick, as you can see. But once again, it doesn't sit too tall to where it's out of the reach. It works perfectly fine for me. I've been using this for 2 weeks now, going on 3. Absolutely love it. Now, like I said, I was going to tell you the reason I did this. The reason I did this is because, like, I play a lot of Smash, and when I'm playing Smash, a lot of times, like, my hand will slip off of that dome-shaped joystick, and it gets aggravating. Like, it either slips or it moves in a certain way where, like, my thumb is, like, so far over just because, like, my hands sweat a lot that I get aggravated. I'm just like, fuck, man, like, that's aggravating as shit. So I looked at it. I looked at my friend's PlayStation 4 controller because he brought it over for me to fix. Looked at the bottom of the joysticks and I'm like, wait a second, that looks like the GameCube joysticks on the bottom. So after he left, I went and like tried to put my GameCube joysticks on my Xbox just for kind of a joke, and that still fit. Like, it fit pretty good. It didn't fit perfect, like as you saw in the video. It doesn't fit perfectly, but it fit pretty good nonetheless. And I was like, okay, maybe I can take Xbox One joysticks and PS4 joysticks and put them on my GameCube controller. Blindly, I bought them on Amazon, looked at them also in the pictures, saw that they were pretty similar, and I thought that they were going to work out pretty well. So when they got in, I did just that. Like, I was like, okay, we're going to do this blind GameCube controller build. Like I said, I did on my Twitch channel, and it worked out surprisingly good. Like, I just was not expecting it to go that smooth. I thought I was gonna run into troubles with maybe having to hot glue stuff, or use super glue, or maybe like kind of solder around, like not necessarily solder, but cut around in the edge of the joysticks, or the underneath of the joysticks. But I didn't have to. It was just that simple. It was a little bit of force, a little bit of aluminum foil, and sheer will to build the controller. So saying that, like, it's done. It works, and it looks pretty good. I do apologize for the green screen over here, but it looks pretty good. Like, it works well. I'm fucking shocked, type of deal. But let me know if you like it. If you personally do try this, let me know in the comments below. I would absolutely love to know, especially if you do all PlayStation or all Xbox, or an Xbox for the left analog stick and a PlayStation 4 for the right analog stick. And if you don't like it, also let me know that as well. And like, what don't you like about it, type of deal. I'm more than sure that TOs won't be too against just switching out joysticks, because it's like repairing your controller, but just fitting you. There's nothing cheating about using a different type of joystick. But please give me feedback. I would love to hear from all of you guys. Also, if you like, can you please like or dislike the video, if you did like or dislike it though, as well as please subscribe. I do want to start putting up more videos of just Smash, PC games that I've been playing on stream lately, and so on and so forth. If you haven't already, please also follow my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/foolishpaul. That'll also be in the description below, and I do stream almost every day. Like, I want to say almost every day, or probably every day. But that's it for this video, man. You guys take care of yourself and go play some Smash.